So this is more World at War 85 by Lock and Load Publishing. I set this scenario up. This is scenario 8 called Metal Rain. I set this scenario up with the intention of sort of starting a bit of a video about it and discussing it, but I was so involved in the situation that I just started playing, and before I knew what had happened, I was 3 turns in this situation here. This is a Soviet motorized rifle regiment of these BMP-1s with an infantry battalion in an infantry platoon in each. So you get 6 of each. You can see they've dropped some infantry already up on this hill. But yes, basically 6 of the BMPs with these quite nice anti-tank guided weapons on them, but the minimum range, and this fairly standard Soviet infantry, but with no support weapons at all for it. They also had 2 T-62s, but those are mere wrecks over here now. So the Soviets are trying to get across this hill and take this hex here and this hex up over here, and they are being thwarted by 2 German infantry platoons, both with anti-tank guided weapons as support weapons. 2 Marders, again with the nice, reasonably nice Milan anti-tank guided weapons, the 744, the same as the infantry weapons. But the big deal here for the Germans is a platoon of these Leopard 2s, which are just brutal. 4 dice hitting on 3s. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And with an HQ on there, that's 6 dice hitting on 3s. These things are kicking out. Well, they kicked out 4 hits into the first T-62 that made an appearance, and 5 hits into the next one. And that was all she wrote there. And these are kind of anchoring the German position from the centre with the HQ on, keeping everything in range, and also covering all this empty terrain that you need to get across in order to get to this city. I probably made a mistake trying bringing the T-62s round. I should have tried to perhaps hold them back and then use them as part of a rush forward to try and get something with eyes on, you know, some of the German defenders, but they've not done that. And now the rush forward has been complicated in turn 2, when the Russians, Soviets didn't get an activation. The West Germans were able to drop down 2 air-deployed mine artillery barrages and put a whole string of minefields across their position. This, by the way, where it says placed mines, are random mines, but there weren't enough placed mines in the counter mix, which is slightly odd. There were only 5 random minefield counters that I could find, and since they're laid in 3s, you'd think they'd put 6 in the counter mix, but hey ho. So here we are coming into turn 3. The Soviets have got their HQ on an end ops card because they didn't get an activation last turn, and we're going to see what happens. But they've now got a minefield to get across. They've lost their tanks, and there's a rather dangerous Leopard 2 platoon sitting in some forests over here. And they've got the German infantry to get through as well, and good anti-tank guided weapons on the Marders, and it's all looking quite difficult for them. So let's see what the first card out of the mix is, and the Soviets are going to get a go. Okay, so we can pop their HQ down somewhere and shuffle the end ops card in, and I'll have a think about what to do with them. It got quite messy quite quickly here in Metal Rain. The Soviets, having activated, we pulled a battlefield event friction card, and what transpired from that was a high-speed approach by the Russians. So they got another activation straight off the back, but they could only do move and fire of actions with it, and that was a problem because they were up against the minefield, but as they crossed the minefield they were inside the minimum range of their anti-tank guided weapons, which but they were able to find sufficient shots to disrupt and reduce this Marder. Then they tried to push into the city here, took some counter fire from the West German infantry, and that saw these infantry disrupted and reduced by some very accurate shooting. And you can see a lot of other, I need an ops complete marker on him, and you can see a lot of disruptions where units tried to cross minefields and didn't make it very successfully. I think there's also a reloading missiles under there, and a missile's out somewhere, and yes, so there's quite a lot of disruption under there. Quite a lot of counters around here now, yeah, a good defence by the Germans over in the first objective. So let's see what card's up next. It's an end operations card. So next is the Panzer Grenadiers. Okay, so the Germans have got an opportunity to react. Let's see how much damage they can do. First thing they have to do is, because of this electronic warfare, which is new, I've not used electronic warfare before, but basically if you draw the card and it's your side selected for electronic warfare, you get to place an electronic warfare token on an opposing HQ, and that means that essentially it cuts its command range to 0. So that essentially what it means is that anything stacked with the HQ is in command. Anything that's automatically in command is in command, like recon units, but everything else that would normally be in command has to make its command rolls. So electronic warfare is quite powerful and quite annoying. So we've got to make command rolls across the German force because there's electronic warfare on their HQ. Except for the Leopards under the HQ. And then after that's done, we'll see what's able to actually able to do anything. I mean, you can opportunity fire if you're out of command, but it will prevent them taking proactive actions. So we'll see what the dice gods do. In fact, let's just do it quickly on camera. We've got the disrupted Marder under here. Let's see how he's feeling about being in command. He needs 7 or less on 2 dice. Everyone needs 7 or less. Let's start with him. Okay, he's feeling good about remaining in command. We've got some German infantry in the city there. They are feeling exceptionally good about being in command. They know exactly what to do. Let's try this Marder here. They are feeling less sprightly about it, and the infantry up in this defending the second objective hex are feeling fine. So just one Marder here out of command. Everyone else is good. I can take ops complete markers off people, off this guy here at least, and we can just push on with this turn. That's we've got no missile reloading to do. The HQ staying where it is. Let's just see if this guy can undisrupt. He's in command, so he just needs to roll less than our command value of 7 to lose the disruption. And he's got a 7. That's good news for him. He is undisrupted, and perhaps needs to make a break from it. He's surrounded by bad guys with ops complete markers on them, and I think perhaps discretion is the better part of valor here, because it's only a matter of time before he gets assaulted by something close by. He won't get any ops fire because they're not moving in. They're moving into his hex, so he needs to bug out. And then we'll look at what else is going to go down. So we're in turn 4 here. You can see a lot of disrupted Russians. The minefields did quite a good job of holding them back. Coming into turn 4, the first card out was the West German Panzer Grenadiers, and that's not ideal for them. That what they want is for the Russians to move to use all their refreshed units to ops fire and then get their activations after the Russians have shown their hand. But this way round, they had to limit their fire because they just refreshed and then they drew their own card. So they didn't do much fire. They took a shot from here into these infantry who saved. They took a shot from this Marder with its machine guns into here, and it saved. It saved from 2 attacks last turn. It's made 4 successful saves with 1 dice on 5s or 6s. It's been hit once, hit once, hit once, hit once, and it's saved 4 consecutive times. And the card out of the deck now is the Russian motorised rifle regiment. And I think what we're going to have to do is put our HQ on these heroic infantry in this woods outside our objective, with a plan of assaulting in with the HQ bonus. So that's our idea. But prior to that, we're also, if we've got a line of sight, which I believe we do, yes we do, we're also going to drop some artillery and see if we can't cause the Leopards some problems as well. So we're going to use one of our off-board artillery strikes into here. But that will, first we'll have some rolls around to see if we can remove some disruptions and whether we can, whether we've got anyone trying to reload. But that's the plan for the turn, is off-board artillery into the Leopards, an assault into here, and then we'll see where we're at. Well, this is brutal, and this is one of the reasons that tactical games throw up narrative, because this infantry unit that was loitering outside the objective here and survived all that enemy fire has now just assaulted into the German infantry, rolled his assault, 2 dice needing 4s with a bonus 2 from his HQ, 4 dice needing 4s, and that was his roll, 4 hits. That is mean. That is pure mean. Those guys must be uber special forces. There must be the Soviet equivalent of Captain America in there, Captain Kremlin or something. So 4 dice. Let's see what the West Germans can do in response. They've got 2 dice on 4s, so they could cause some damage back. 1 hit. So that's going to be a disruption on the infantry, but the German infantry just got toasted. So yeah, onward. So the Soviet plan in turn 4 partially worked. The artillery strike, or the planned artillery strike against the German HQ and Leopard 2s didn't go off at all. That strike got cancelled for reasons unknown. Perhaps the electronic warfare against the HQ had something to do with it. We can say it did anyway. But the Germans dropped some electronic warfare onto the Soviet HQ, which is hopefully going to cause them some difficulty in mobilising their units, especially since they've got that lower command value of 6, so it'll be tougher to keep things in command. However, the Russians did obviously manage to storm the first objective very successfully. They also found a break in the minefields and managed to push through a lot of infantry and I think a BMP up here to put some threat on the second objective that they need to take to win the scenario. And they've also pushed some they pushed one lot of BMPs up onto this hill line that the Leopards took one look at, put 6 hits into, and I didn't even bother rolling this save for them. It was ridiculous. But then into those wrecks, they then put another BMP now cut in the cover of those wrecks, and another one next to it. So they've got some dangerous units up here, which could potentially start opening up, anti-tank guided weapon fire on the Leopards, and it's all they've got. So if they can't, you just have to try and get volume of fire into units that dangerous, and hope for a lucky, disruption to silence their guns, and then maybe you can pile a bit more fire in and slowly whittle them down. But they are seriously, seriously difficult to contend with. Anyway, the Germans, with the threats up here and all this threat up here on the actual objective, have just drawn their card, and now they've got to pick the right targets and hope to get some good defensive fire down. The infantry can obviously try and pick some targets here. The Leopards are probably going to be forced to try and take out whatever armoured AFVs approaching the the objective, so they probably have to go for those. Although it's questionable whether they can see them or whether these 2 hexes of cultivated terrain are going to block line of sight, so I'll need to check that. If they can't see them, they'll have to deal with one of these units, and then maybe there'll be some fire across this open ground from here. So let's see how we get on. Well, this could be it here in turn 5. You can see out of command markers all the way across this shredded Russian force. They're disrupted, they're out of command, they've got virtually nothing in command. These BMP-1s had a shot at the Leopards and put 2 hits into them, but the reactive armour on the Leopards just too strong. Oh, the Leopards are over there. They've moved some infantry up into the wreck so that they've got some cover, but the one thing they did do was drop their HQ on some infantry to ensure that it stayed in command, and then they've charged them forward to assault the city that they need to take. The Germans took op fire in the adjacent hex, 2 dice on 4s, didn't score a single hit, didn't manage to stop the charge forward, and now we've got an assault with the Soviets with a massive advantage, 4 dice on 4s because of their headquarters against 2 dice on 4s for the Germans. So yeah, here we go. 4 dice on 4s for the Russians, and we've seen what happens when the Russians get into assaults. So, oh, look at that, they've not scored a single hit, while the swings and roundabouts of hand-to-hand assault, close combat with grenades and bayonets and all that kind of stuff, right up close and personal, and the Russians just through not a single hit. Now let's see what the Germans do in response. They've got 2 dice on 4s, and that is a hit. So that's going to be a disruption on the Russians, and that's going to force them back a hex into the hex they entered the assault from. So the Germans have held out here and forced disrupted Soviet infantry back, and that was the game right there. And 4 dice against 2, they've just held on, so super lucky for them. And that's the end of this Soviet action phase, because everything else is either acted or out of command, and we move onwards. Let's just see what card we get next. Oh, it's the West Germans. Okay, that's good for them. It could have been an end operations, so but they fancy having another fire, another crack, knowing that now the Soviets have acted. They've not got to worry about a Russian activation, so they can potentially cause some damage here. Well, in turn 6 here in Metal Rain, not only did the Germans drive back the attempted Soviet assault into this town, which the scenario says is Eichenbach. Well, the German defenders then promptly routed and destroyed the attacking infantry platoon and the HQ, sent the HQ packing as well, and then some anti-personnel fire from the Leopards took care of another infantry platoon, and the Russians are now looking a bit thin on the ground when it comes to trying to take the second objective. To add insult to injury, they didn't even get an activation that turn, so the end ops card has got their reduced HQ on it, so that we can't end the turn without them getting a an activation. You can see a lot of disrupted units, and yeah, and some reloading missiles down there, and there's not a lot of active Russian stuff left on the board. So I think the West Germans might hold on here. Let's see what card we get out of the gate. It's a battlefield event. Okay, well, let's roll this out. It doesn't do any harm to roll this on camera. We've got a 6. Battlefield event, 6 Overwatch set, one side. So it says 6. Oh, there's so much glare, sorry. Overwatch set. One side, your troops have time to re-ammo and reposition themselves. Remove all ops complete markers from one friendly formation. Note, this is not a formation impulse, simply remove the ops complete markers. Well, since it's the start of the turn, no one's got any ops complete markers on them, so that has it. We don't even need to roll for which side that is, because it makes no difference. Okay, next card out is the electronic warfare. So on a 1 to 3, NATO get to use this, and on a 4 to 6, it's the Soviets. So it's a 3. So the NATO are going to drop electronic warfare onto the Soviet HQ, which means that even when they come on the board, all the Soviet units are going to have to roll to try and be in control, apart from the one they put the HQ on, which is likely to be the one that's going to try another assault, I guess. Okay, that's the electronic warfare done. Next up, we have got the Germans. Okay, let's roll through some actions. I think what we're going to see is some wow. I think what we're going to see is them drop their HQ into here for the last couple of turns. These Leopards have done an amazing job. Oh, an ops complete that shouldn't be there. These Leopards have done an amazing job in defence here. We really don't quite need the bonus 2 dice from their firepower. We probably need the bonus 2 dice for the assault value, just in case these guys get to fire or get to assault, because that 2 dice against 4 dice was a bit scary for the Germans. On the other hand, we could just roll the Leopards in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They would have to take opportunity fire, maybe from these BMPs. Yeah. Still, actually, well, here they'd be out of sight, but once they got here, they'd probably take up fire from those BMPs. Do they want to risk it? The BMP's 3 dice on 4s at range, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so they wouldn't be halved. So they wouldn't be at point blank range. They'd be 3 dice on 4s, and the Leopards would then be 4 dice on 5. Okay, yeah, we'll risk this. So so far we're keeping our HQ where it is, which keeps everyone in command for the beginning of the turn. We don't have any reloading to do. We don't have any other sort of administrative stuff to do that you do at the start of the turn, like we haven't got any off-board artillery to bring in, we haven't got any missile reloads or anything like that, so we're just going to do activations. And so we will roll the Leopards with the HQ up here. These infantry, range 1, 2, 3, 4, could potentially have a shot, but they'd be rolling 2 dice on 6s. Is it worth it? No, it's not. So the Leopards will come in here, and at that point this BMP can have a shot. and he's rolling 3 dice on 4s. We'll mark him ops complete, but 3 dice on 4s with his anti-tank, actually, with his anti-tank guided weapon. Let's see what he gets. He gets 2 hits. Okay, that's dangerous. So the Leopards have got 4 dice on 4s because they have a reactive armour. And they don't make a single save. Their luck has run out. Ouch. Okay, that was not that was not what was meant to happen for the Germans. Okay. So that was terrible, wasn't it? We took a risk there to try and get into the objective hex to seal it up, and we just got our Leopards mangled. So okay, they're reduced and disrupted. The HQ has to roll, given the disruption, to see if it's okay. 1 to 3, no effect. 4 to 6, it's reduced as well. It's reduced as well. Okay, I think that's right. I can check it, but I'm fairly sure that if you take if you're on a reduced unit when there's combat, the HQ has to roll. And on a 1 to 3 it's not affected, and on a 4 to 6 it's wounded and gets reduced. So yeah, that's exactly right. So that is an absolute pain for the Germans. They are now ops complete. Let's deal with the ammo for the Russians. They still have ammo, so they are not missile reloading, but they are ops complete. Okay. Well, I'm not quite sure what to do now. I'd quite like to do something with these 2 Marders, but the bridge to get across this river is held by Russians. I suppose these guys could have a shot at those Russians, or they could have a shot at these BMPs up here who are reloading missiles. Yeah, they'll do that. 1, 2, 3, range 4, 4 dice on 4s. Throwing the dice around. I'll just do this for now. Oh, well, that's 3 hits. That's not going to be good. So these guys have got a save on 5, and they've got a bonus dice for elevation. So they've got 2 dice. They've got no saves, and they are gone. So that's these guys taken care of rather convincingly. And we'll put a Rex marker in their hex, and we'll roll for ammo for the Americans, and then sorry, for the West Germans, and then we'll carry on. Okay, they're reloading, missile reloading, and I'll carry on off camera from here. Well, the entire Soviet rifle regiment might be out of command, as you can see here. What's left of it, what isn't smoking wrecks. But their HQ in here does still have some tricks in its sleeve, one of which is to drop an artillery barrage into what's it called? Eichenberg here, and yeah, we've got that to do. So high explosive strikes are done individually against each unit. apparently. That's what the rules say. So we've got a Leopard 2 with an HQ attached, and we've got some infantry, and they're dealt with differently. So the artillery strike is 3 dice hitting on 4s. So against the Leopard, that's pretty unpleasant. That's 3 hits. Okay, the Leopard has got 1 save. You don't get your normal armor saves. You get the defensive value of the terrain and a bonus dice. So the Leopard has got 2 dice. And saving on 5s. That's really bad. They get 1 save, but that's still 2 hits, and 1 hit disrupts them, and the second hit wipes them out. So the Leopards have gone, the artillery's done them. That's really, really unfortunate. So Leopards are off the map, and the HQ will be in the suppressed HQ's box up there. Right, the infantry. 3 dice on 4s. No hits. Okay, well, it's going to the wire anyway. So, yeah. Nothing for the off-board. Nothing more to be done there. I think the Soviets now have to charge. They've got nothing here to activate, so they've got their HQ, and they've got some infantry, and I think they've got to charge. So they'll move on forward, and there's going to be defensive fire from the Germans, point blank range, 2 dice hitting on 4s. That's a hit, and in agricultural cultivated terrain, I think this is called, that's worth a 1 dice defensive bonus for the Soviets. So they're going to roll a save against that hit. Not going to make it, and they are going to be disrupted outside the town. Okay. It's all getting pretty tense here. This is turn 7. Yeah. And that is the Soviet activation done, because they've literally got nothing else that's capable of doing anything. And the last 2 cards in the deck are end ops. So we're going into turn 8 to see whether the Soviets can grab this final town with a last hurrah. Well, the Germans kicked us off here in turn 8, the final turn. I drew their card immediately straight out of the deck. So we decided simply to... Actually, I should have placed my HQ down as part of their activation, which would have gone in here, which would have given us another dice. So we have 3 dice on 4s, because we're at point blank range, so we've got 2 dice hitting on 5s, but at point blank range we've got 2 dice hitting on 4s, but actually we should have a bonus dice for our HQ, 3 dice on 4s. I've rolled my 2 dice on 4s and got boxcars. So 2 hits. We'll roll their 3rd dice, and we've got 3 hits, and that is extremely unfortunate for the Russian attackers, who have got 1 dice to save because of the terrain, and they make that, so they take 2 hits, which unfortunately for them, because they're already disrupted and didn't have a chance to recover, 1 hit and the second hit destroys them. The HQ's off map back into the suppressed HQ's box and won't be coming on this turn, and that pretty much ends their hopes of getting into this objective hex, I think, because well, I don't know if they've got anything. When these infantry move of 3, 1, 2, 3 can't get there. These guys move of 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 can't get there. These guys move of 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 can't get there. These guys move of 3 can't get there, and these guys are disrupted. So I think, I mean, I'll play it through. It only means flipping a few cards, but you know, we'll see what happens. Let's just see what we get. Okay, so here's the Soviet card, so we might as well see if there's anything that we can do. They haven't got an HQ, so they'd all have to roll for being, oh, let's just roll, see who's in command then. This bottom BMP down here is in command. The 2 infantry units, the reduced one first, out of command. The higher one in command. The disrupted one out of command. This BMP out of command. So he was out of command. The disrupted one here. Oh, that's another disrupted. He's out of command. These 2 were in command, and that was in command. So they've got 3 units. And as we can see, none of them can actually get to the objective. So, you know, what could potentially happen, I suppose, is we could roll exactly the right event that gave us another activation. So these guys could come 1, 2, 3 just in case they were to get another activation. But at that point, these guys can fire at them. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. They're always going to be slightly out of their range, so that's going to add 1 to their dice. So they're going to be 2 dice on 6s firing at them. Opportunity fire from the Marders. No hits. Okay. And these guys are going to be ops complete. And these infantry, I mean, actually what they want to do is bump into here and reinforce this, because we could lose that. We've only got a disrupted, reduced guy in there. And then that BMP, I mean, he could come charging forward. But we're over the stacking limit. We should have done it, but then we're just going to take opportunity fire from this guy, and we haven't really got the armour to do anything about it. So I don't think he's got anywhere sensible to go charging to. I think we have to leave it up to this infantry and see if we get a random lucky event. So what's next? End ops is next, and the Germans now get to refresh their situation. So they will obviously try and gun us down with 3 dice on 5s into here. They don't hit. Okay, we'll carry on then. Electronic warfare doesn't really matter now, and an end ops. And that's it. That's the end of Metal Rain. As you can see, a lot of ebb and flow in this particular game. The way it played out was just quite, you know, quite unpredictable. Really beautiful ebb and flow to the game. You're never quite sure what's happening. Stuff exploding, stuff blowing up, stuff getting lucky shots. Terrible move by me to move the Leopards. We should have had a Rex counter in there, by the way, but forgot all about that. But yeah, terrible move by me maybe to move the Leopards in here. But then we did get the HQ in there, but yeah, really enjoyed this game. Even though small map, low number of units, it just highlights how many choices you've got. With, you know, the thing I really like about this system is all the little toys you get that actually then they're not inconsequential. You know, the artillery can be really significant. Anti-tank guided weapons have their time and their place. They can be relatively ineffective, then suddenly they can come to life. Your main tanks, you know, your A grade top listed top tier tanks are, especially for the NATO West Allied, NATO West German US player, are at such a premium. They're so good, but you get so few of them. The BMPs and things like that are really fun to run around with as the Russians. And the maps just offer this a lot of subtlety in how you want to try and approach, and yeah, just a really fun. It's not quite tactical, it's just a little bit more zoomed out than tactical, which is another thing I like about it. We're not looking at every last hedgerow and every last tree and every last farm building. You know, we're more zoomed out than that, and it makes the objectives much more plausible for me. Capture this town, capture this bridge, you know, get units off here, rather than the more zoomed in tactical games where I genuinely don't care if I take that church in 6 turns or 7. You know, it doesn't matter to me. And it doesn't have a plausible feel of an objective. You know, it's critical to the whole Western Front whether you exit 3 squads through that field in 6 turns. You know, whereas this does actually feel like part of a broader battle with more operational style objectives that seem quite plausible, and yeah, really like it. That said, I think I've done 3 of these on camera now, and I fancy filming something different. Yeah, I fancy playing this, but filming something different. And I've got a couple of options, so yeah, I think I'm going to switch tack and come back to this in a couple of months' time.